Welcome to the QualiWare 10.10 release webinar. We are really excited to share this new release with you. This webinar will last for about an hour. Kuno and Martin will walk you through the release, and if you have any questions along the way, just drop them in the chat. So over to you, Kuno.
Thank you. I will start sharing my screen so that everybody can see what we're delivering. If you have any questions, just leave them in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get all questions answered in due time. What you're looking at here is the 10.10 user desktop, so we'll just jump right into it and show you the new release. Of course, you know that since a long time ago, the reason for using a tool such as QualiWare would be that businesses would need to react to some market dynamics. Over the years, we've seen different type of market dynamics being the most important. Back in the 90s, all of a sudden, something called the internet popped up. And then there was the year 2K problem, and then there was a financial crisis, and then everything got into cloud and everything got automated. And lately, the dynamics in the market has been risk management, business continuity, legislation coming out of EU and different places. So there are always different challenges for a business. And if you want to react to those market dynamics, you need to have control over, first of all, making the right decisions. What is it that we need to change in our business in order to react to the market dynamics? And then secondly, when you made the right decision, how can we implement those changes in the business? And third, how can we continue to improve the business with the new sort of foundation that we've established? Now, making the right decision has to do with knowing what you have in front of you, having an overview. This is what enterprise architecture is for, amongst other things. Making sure that you can implement changes in the business requires you to be able to communicate with your employees and your colleagues. And of course, the continuous improvement has been there for a while, and it's something that we also still support. Now, one of the things that has had a major impact on this release is the ability to communicate and implement the change into the organization. There's no doubt that you can sit down with QualiWare and create hundreds of models, and that's very nice. But if nobody reads those models and use it for conducting services and work, then it has no value at all. So in this release, we've focused on getting the right information to the right audience at the time where they need that information. One of the things that we've changed is the user interface. We've conducted what is called a customer journey analysis and a top task analysis, something that we did internally here in QualiWare. We use Edgy for that, by the way. If you haven't read about Edgy yet, you should maybe take a look at that. It's a very nice way of handling those types of analysis. And what we've done is we've actually changed the tool so that it supports those journeys that we found and supports those top tasks. Let's start with just taking a look at the tool the way it looks now. What you're looking at now is the user desktop. So this is basically my desktop. And the user desktop, in a sense, has to do with the ordinary employee that needs to know about something. So not the content owner, not the process manager, not the application owner. This is a normal employee, needs to react to the changes in the business and the decisions that have been made. And so there is a set of tiles here in the user desktop. I have my personal actions. I can find my to-do list. What do I need to do? I can find my responsibilities. If I subscribe to some diagrams or some information in the business, I can find that. If I have created some feedback, I may be part of an audit, or I may have the responsibility for non-conformance, corrective action, some risks maybe. I can also feedback information to my content owners, so I can register a change request, I can register an idea, I can register a problem. Now, these things have not changed since 10.9. Actually, they haven't changed for a while. But it's become more easy for me as an ordinary user to use that. This is a quick search type of thing. I can see my top processes, the business high-level view, and then I can see some stuff here that talks about what is the most popular thing in the business right now. What are my colleagues looking at when they go into the QualiWare toolset? Now, if I want to work with my process, I can click the process, and it will show me what we now call a dashboard. The dashboard is when you look at one diagram. The desktop is when you have everything in front of you. So now I'm at the business process network dashboard for this Chixi car rental process. And if I select an object here, I can see the description, I can see who is responsible. I can also work with, I can drill into a lower level. Here I am at the business process network for perform overhaul. This is an airport case, so there is a car rental facility in the airport. And if I'm convinced that this is a diagram that I need to see more often, I can actually now pin that diagram to my desktop. So if I go back to my desktop now, I have perform overhaul here. In other words, I can change my desktop to include the most important information for me. And that's something that you can say, well, will people do that? Well, they should do it. And if they don't do it automatically, somebody should help them with that. Something that makes it easy for people to just know what they're working with and get the right information when they need it. Now, I can, of course, load the standard layout if I want to do that, and I can unpin my desktop here. Sorry, not my desktop, but I can unpin my diagram from my user desktop, and now it's gone again. So this is the end user view. There's another end user view that you'll see a little later, the augmented reality app that we've introduced, and a third end user view, which is the AI chatbot that we'll talk about, and PowerPoint and things like that. So just keep in mind that the end users have been very influential on the way that we've organized and developed version 10.10. Now, if I'm not an end user, I may actually be a process owner. And therefore, I can go to my process management desktop. So now I change my role to become a process owner. I still have the top process in front of me, but I have some other tiles. And this is the desktop for process management. There are a lot of different tiles, desktops in the tool. Let's just take a look at what the desktops that we are offering includes. There's a lot of desktops that has to do with different business aspects. So when we talk about business aspects, we're talking about different views on the company. So innovation desktop, strategy desktop, capability management desktop, business transformations of projects, process management, application management, information architecture, interoperability, a new thing that has become more important with integration between systems, composable business, something that Gartner has named as interesting. It's a little bit more strategic decomposition of your business. We'll take a look at that a little later. Organization, manufacturing, technology management, and asset management. For those of you who are enterprise architects, you could say, oh yeah, these are just different columns in the EA framework. It's just a more modern framework. Yeah, well, that's true. These desktops represents different viewpoints onto the business. We have other desktops that we also offer. There is a list of architecture frameworks that we support. The QualiWare Enterprise Architecture Framework, Roger Burlton's or Process Renewal Group's Business Architecture Framework, John Sackman's Architecture Framework, TOGAF, Archimate, and also the new NATO Architecture Framework. There are, in fact, more desktops for architecture frameworks, but they're not included here because they're more sort of national type of frameworks. There's an FDA framework in Denmark, there's a GUIA framework in South Africa, Europe has a specific framework. That's something that we didn't include. You can download that from our website at a certain point in time. So different type of frameworks, we'll get back to that a little later just to see why do we include them as desktops. And there is a lot of responsibilities if you are an EA master owner of your framework. You need to do a lot of work, so we'll take a look at that as well. Enterprise design, I just mentioned briefly, Edgy. It is a series of desktops that has to do with enterprise design. If you don't know about Edgy, look it up at intersection.group and read about it. There's a conference coming up here in Brussels in September, and we can recommend it's called the Intersection Conference. We can recommend that you participate in that. Governance, risk and compliance, other types of desktops with risk management, compliance management, sustainability, cybersecurity, infrastructure security, document management, and contract management. So different type of desktops. Let's take a look again at the process desktop. Most of the desktops will have this type of structure, the top diagram, and then these tiles that basically visualize the journey you're doing as a process owner. You're getting started, then you establish an overview of the current situation, then you evaluate if the business processes are working the way they should, and if they're not, you design and implement some new business processes. So that's a sort of a journey that you go through. And just to getting started is present on most desktops. So what can we do in the getting started? Well, first of all, we've created a new import feature. We call it the smart importer because it's AI supported. You basically point to a CSV file. All our clients have stuff in Excel, so they can produce a CSV file. And then you go through a wizard where you map it towards your meta model, towards the diagram types and object types you want to import. If there are any conflicts, the reviews, and you can report stuff, and then you just import the objects. They become objects and relationships in the repository. So that is easy. There's a lot of other sort of easy or relatively obvious features in the getting started. Well, to get started, you can actually create a process. You can edit a process. You can view existing processes. And in order to do that the right way, there's also an approach to business process management, which is basically a way to learn about business process management. If you click the first one here, Business Process Management, on the QualiWare Center of Excellence, it will take you directly into the QualiWare Center of Excellence on business process management, and you can do a training or you can read about it in there. You can also go to, in this case, we've included Roger Brodersen's training, so you can go to Process Renewal Group and you can take the training on business process management if you want to do that, or you can add your own training and documentation on how do you produce business processes in your company. So the idea that the tool includes a help that will guide you through the use, not just of the tool, but also of the methodologies. Of course, you can also do that by clicking, you need help from QualiWare. This is available everywhere, and it has a more sort of overarching set of help features that you can go to. Getting started, what's new, the QualiTube, APM intro, BCM tools, etc. Getting started will take you through a lot of documentation in the Center of Excellence. Now, we're going through the Center of Excellence a little later. Martin will take you through the Center of Excellence and what is new there. So let's continue with this process map. You can see the little green boxes here, Repository Explorer /processes. What does that mean? That means that if you click this button, you get a list of templates that relates to process modeling. Now, in the current tool, when you click the Repository Explorer, you get all 700 and some templates available. That's not very helpful if only processes is in your focus. So now we have only the diagrams that you want to use as processes, and down here, everything that has to do with processes. Now, what you should do, because nobody uses all those diagrams for process modeling, you should adjust this list, and you can do that, of course, so that it only brings you into the right set of processes, templates in your diagram. Now, if we move into the business process network that we saw before, and in this time we are not an ordinary user, we are the process owners who will switch to the dashboard for analyzing and improving. We can see that there is still a series of features from 10.9 that we've extended a bit, and then there are some fundamental features that is pretty new. So if I select purchase product, for example, I can say to my AI, I can see there's not a very interesting description here. Maybe I can find something else, not just short description. I can say to my AI, could you please add a description? Oops, where am I typing? Add a description, generate. And now it will add a description for my process. And here it is. I only selected one product. If I selected more symbols here, it would add description for all of them. And then I can see here, I have this process involves procurement of product, blah, 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 blah. If I like that, I can save the objects. And then I have added a description to my process. Basically, what you can do in 10.10 is add content to every object type. So basically just select the object and then let the AI help you building the right descriptions and relationships in the tool. So that's a very nice feature that is included here. Now you can of course also edit the diagram. So if we go to edit diagram, you can see that there has been a change in the web modeler. Now we have the symbols on the left side, which many people like. On the right side, we have a property view, which is very nice. So if I select a symbol, I'll see the property view over here. So who's the owner, who's responsible, and so on and so forth. I can select what I can see in my property view. I can say, no, I want to see the full view. And wow, then I have all the different sub-dialogues for a business process. All the fields are in there. That may be a little overwhelming. Of course, I can edit it now. I can say, I want to put a new purpose in there and type something and then update it. And then I have a new purpose in the process. So actually, I can create my diagram and update the content at the same time, which means I don't need to open all the dialogues all the time. I can also say that's too much. I only want to see the properties with value in it, and that's a little different, of course. So full or favorites. Of course, you can still say no. I want to edit the dialogue, and if you make sure that you point to the right button. In fact, you can have more dialogues open at the same time, which is a new thing in 10.10, which makes it a little easier. If you want to have an overview of multiple objects, it makes you a little easier for you to open everything that you need and you can work with it. This approach is a little bit more related to the architecture work. You know, when you work with architecture, then you often will have the ability to edit multiple objects at the same time. Okay. Exit out of this. What else did we build? We built some visualization capabilities that are important when you have a big architecture, in this case, a process architecture. Of course, a lot of the visualization capabilities you've seen already, but there are certain visualization capabilities that relates to other types of objects. So, for example, let's open another desktop here. I have my process management desktop. I can go and open, for example, the application management. See, I have all my desktops here. I can select the desktops I want to open. Now I have process management and application management open at the same time. If I close down this and open it again tomorrow, it will show the same thing. Basically, I get everything that I have here saved on my personal profile. Now, as you can see, the application management desktop is similar. The top application model, getting started, establish an overview, evaluate the application portfolio, prioritize scope application change, and allocate resources and budgets. And then you can see here all the different changes that you're planning for your application will be shown in this particular Gantt view. If I open my application landscape, there are some features in there that are more sort of application specific. Gartner has something they call time, tolerate, eliminate, tolerate, invest, migrate and eliminate is basically a way to analyze what systems should be kept and what should they throw out, or should you throw out. The life cycle, what life cycle is my systems in? Does it have risk? These different type of views are still quite important for application landscapes. And apart from that, all the other stuff that we have in here is still the same, maybe with some extra dashboards and things like that, but it's pretty much the same as it was. One thing that is interesting with these desktops is that they represent the work that you're doing. Now with the process management, we looked at how we could use AI to push data into the system, the smart importer. We can actually also use AI to get it out again. So for example here, we have a PowerPoint presentation generator. And this will generate a PowerPoint. Not only will it generate a PowerPoint for the diagram, it will actually also include a presentation or explanation from the AI. So if you say, I want to have this diagram explained to me in a PowerPoint presentation, I'm now able to just click that button just before I need to go to a meeting, and then my PowerPoint will be generated, and it will include an explanation to the diagram. So basically the AI will explain the diagram for me, and we'll just wait for it to complete here. Generate presentation, come back. I know it works. I tested it just before the meeting. There we go, PowerPoint. And now we have a PowerPoint presentation of the Chixi car rental. Below is a concise overview, blah, blah, blah. Different descriptions, basically an explanation to everything in there, in addition to what was there already before we clicked the button. So coming back again. In other words, a way to show what is it that is the meaning with the content. Now, one thing we did not look at when we were at the moment. Now we are back to the end user. Up here we have a little chatbot, and the chatbot will allow me to ask questions to the content in the repository. This is the latest AI initiative. There are more to come. You can see here, if it's blue, marked with blue, then the content is pulled directly from the repository data. We have customers that use QualiWare for security reasons. If you ask a question, you need to know that the answer is actually from your security system, not from some dumb document on the internet, right? We can also allow it to go with general knowledge, of course. And now I can say, okay, well, who's responsible for book car? And it will basically, what it will do now is go into the system, the book car business processes associated with blah, blah, blah. Show me a workflow diagram for book car. So I can communicate with this just as you would use, so here's the workflow diagram, and I can click this and it will go to my workflow diagram. This is an easy way to get an easy, understandable explanation to the content in the repository. Now, that is nice. What is also very nice, and where we've actually received quite a number of strong feedback, is that if I'm in Teams, I can actually also chat with my repository from Teams. Hello, this is the QualiWare AI. Okay, who is responsible for book car? Now, it may handle it differently, but it's still interesting. I should select the repository. Maybe that maybe it's not the same repository. I hope you can accept that. Submit. So I've selected the repository. Answer, please. Now, if I ask it in Danish and ask it to respond, please clarify who's responsible for car. Well, it's actually not so stupid. It was book car. There you go. So we have a little bit of more information here. In other words, I can use my teams to communicate with my content. And this is what we mean when we say this is something that we will make available to people when they need it. We're sharing knowledge here. Another thing that we've built, let me go to Business Transformation Desktop, is a new set of visualization. So this is for the projects that you're running in your business, your investment policies and getting started, establish an overview, and so on and so forth. One thing that we've done here is also we've created a hierarchical view of your entire project portfolio. So here you have your transformation structure. Let me expand this one. And it will expand it. I could actually also expand it in more levels. Let's say I want 3 levels, and it will find the relationships and expand into a dynamic view of the projects that we are running. Here are some requirements. Here are some documents. Here are some different things. You can select stuff here, and then you'll see the properties just like before on the right side. So it's easy to get a view. This is not something that was designed or drawn by any individual. This is something that we know all together, and it's visualized by the tool automatically. Okay, let's see here. What am I missing, guys? Business transformation, application management. Now, there was one composable business. I promised to talk about that. What is composable business? Well, composable business has to do with business domains. We've been approached by some of our larger clients, especially when it comes to risk management. When you work as a process owner, you can design your risks and enter your risks when you have your process. We've seen that it's in 10.9 and even before then. What you want to now as a high-level manager, you want to make sure that you run risk management in your business in a structured way. So you may have a diagram that shows the business domain, so the sales domain, the finance domain, the HR domain, the procurement domain, so on and so forth. And now if you want to run a domain risk management, you can run business risk analysis. Basically plan the risk analysis. So you can say, okay, so we'll do structured risk analysis in procurement between 3rd of November and 8th of December, and Adam is responsible, and there you go, Adam. Maybe you find some risks, and there may be some concerns and some likelihood and significance, and then there are some controls, and you will reduce the risk level. Basically, a long, very structured approach to making sure that Adam is doing risk management in November in procurement. Now, not just procurement, of course, you'll have risk analysis programs for all your businesses, just like you actually have audit programs. So we've included a feature in the tool that allows you to do sort of structured risk analysis in the business. Okay, do we have any questions so far? No.
No, not yet.
Okay, cool. I think we'll change you. Did I forget anything?
Yeah, but then I can show the release notes, and then we can check it out.
Exactly. So Martin is going to take over now on Center of Excellence, and if you want to do some compliance as well, then you're free to do that.
Yeah.
I did not go into all the different desktops today.
No. But now I'm sharing my screen, so can you confirm that?
Can I confirm you're sharing your screen? I'm not.
No.
Not confirming that from here.
Yeah, yes, I am.
So who are you sharing it with?
I'm sharing. Yeah, yes, I got a thumbs up, so that's
right.
Yeah,
cool.
So, yeah, of course, it looks similar because it's similar demo content I have here, but just want to show that, as Kuno just briefly showed, was the QualiWare, and actually you can see here when I grab it, that's nicely the feature we introduced in 10.10. You can actually move it up and down, but under what's new, you can get directly access to the latest release notes. So here you can get the features up. So if I want to read about the Smart Importer, I can see get an introduction of that from the release note, or I can also click the link and then I get directly to the COE dedicated page for the Smart Importer. Of course, in order to browse COE, some of the pages you will need to have a login. So if you don't have an account, you can register for free. But it's very cool that you can browse and you can get the release note up side by side when you work in QualiWare. You can also, under the tools, you can see we have quite an extensive list of things we support or special features. So some of the features are old, but also, for instance, the desktop. You can get an extensive list about all the desktops, how they are structured, and so on. But just to get a better view here, I go directly to COE, and you can get the release note. I think the link was included in the invite, and you can also get that in the chat. But you can see here, we have structured the release note about the new desktop features. There's a lot of features described about how to work with it. How can you use a desktop? You can also go into other features, for instance, the Smart Importer. We have introduced survey functionality, support for Power BI, and then we have a lot of enhancement. Kuno showed some of them, and I will not go through the whole list here, but this is just for you to get an insight of how you can use the release note to familiarize what is the new features and how do you want to use that. So if we go into, I want to see about the Smart Importer. Yeah, I get a brief introduction, and then again, as shown before, I can go to a detailed page where I get the whole list. For instance, take the first part about the desktops. You can see, as Kuno mentioned, we try to introduce the general layout we are using in all the desktops. And you can go in here there's a dedicated desktop feature. Just side here. Let's see if it works. Should be loading. I can see it's moving. Okay, yeah. So here you get, again, we have highlights here for like a table of content where you can go in and jump to the relevant part. But here you can actually get through all the features associated with the desktop. And we go down here in the bottom, you can see, I'm going very brief now here, let's see. You can actually go here, explore the standard desktop. So here you can see, want to see the desktops related to business aspects, the innovation, the strategy, capability, and so on. You can go in and you can read more, and then you get a dedicated page showing the features and functionality around the desktop. So again, you can get this up side by side when you have 10.10 installed, or you can also browse the CUE to get familiar with the different desktops. And now you can see, I want to see about the architectural framework or the governance, risk and compliance. You can get access to each of these descriptions. And if you're the architect or the system owner, of course, you also can get details about how to actually configure and customize the HTML, and you can go in and you can get more into detail about how do we actually use this, all these different methods we have with different behaviors on the desktops. These methods are described, but that's probably a little too detailed for this audience today. You can also go in, just take from the front page here on QualiWare X. You can see we have the different key features explained again. So the platform, the desktop, the dashboard. So this is a mixture of features across the different releases. So this is a sort of a library you can find. Oh, okay, I want to read about the QualiAI or how the Power BI or different areas. Then you can go in here and yeah, again use that as a library for knowledge. Also language. Of course, language is not new. We have had language variants, and you can work with different languages in your repository. But what's new here is that we can work on, if I go down here, front-end translation. You can actually, I have here more detailed about this. So here you can actually, instead of creating specific language variants of each object in your front end, you can create a translation spreadsheet where that automatically translate all the labels to different languages, and then you can based upon that you can save it, and you have the whole the whole front end translated to the language that you need. So this is the result here. So when I change the language, I will get all the labels shown in my repository language. Yeah? Any questions?
Yes, that's one from Kevin.
Yeah.
Please show the tree list view for governance workflow engine. How is this used?
Yeah. This is, if I go in here, let's see here. See, now I have this version here is approved, so you can see I can create a new revision. If I click that, you can see it shows the whole structure of objects. So I can, of course, I can collapse it, and then I just make a revision of the diagram. That's the old way, but I can also say I'll also make a new revision of these two. But actually, they're already in development, so that would not be needed. But you can scope what you need to create a new revision of. So if I make a revision here of the diagram, when I go through the approval again, I can select. Go here and I fast forward my diagram. I want to approve it again. I get the list here, and you can see, okay, now I want to approve everything, or I just want to approve the process. This can be configured what should be the scope, but now here I will approve the process and the business the process diagram and the business processes in the diagram. And once I press the approve, it will approve not only the diagram but also the specific processes. And of course, I can select a subset of this to go through. It also, now I'm working in a demo environment where I have a very broad governance rights. So usually I would probably not be allowed to approve all of them. But this is the way, or this functionality of the tree software, that you can set up what to include in the tree, and I can select how much should be in scope and approved, and then I should wait a little, then it hopefully should go all the way to approval. Yeah. But that's the idea with tree view, and you can set up filters what to include in the tree view, which type of object should be shown, and what should So this can be configured. Yeah, it's not working that fast here, but that's the idea. So this is an add-on to the governance. As you all know, probably the governance workflow can be configured, well, what happened here? This is a new
feature.
Yeah, no.
We delete stuff when we approve it.
No,
if we don't agree, it disappears.
No, I don't agree. This is I don't know what happened, but yeah, that's that was not a good case. But, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other comment?
There are no other comments in the chat yet.
So the augmented reality.
All right, so we launched an app called QualiWare Go, which is an augmented reality app, which gives the users, our customers, a new way to visualize data inside QualiWare.
Yeah, I can show it. Let's see here.
Mm-hmm.
And Martin will show a video of it right now.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you can see, let's see here, QualiWare Go.
We created the QualiWare Go app because work doesn't just happen behind a desk. It happens in production halls, on factory floors, and out in the field. With QualiWare Go, your management system is always within reach. Just scan a QR code with the app. It instantly recognizes the code and brings up an augmented reality menu with relevant information. This helps you save time and reduce errors. You can also add new shortcut points and save menus in the app for quick access later. This makes it easier to handle recurring tasks like maintenance routines, safety checks, and quality procedures. With QualiWare Go, you're making it easier for everyone across the organization, from technicians to process managers and enterprise architects, to stay compliant, efficient, and informed, no matter where they are.
All right, and next week, Tuesday, at the same time as now, we will have a webinar on how to get started with this app, and I hope to see most of you there.
There's a link here in the chat where you can sign up for the webinar.
The survey.
Yeah, there's a new question from Kevin.
Yeah.
About the survey.
So can I steal back?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Let's see here. Where is it? How do I share? Used to be easy. There it is. So, so the question was again?
The survey.
The survey app. So what we've done in some of these desktops is allowed the architect to basically control some of the rules and regulations for the architecture. Let's take a look at the AT overview. Now, so the AT overview here is about edgy, of course, and edgy has different facets, so circles instead of rows and columns, but it's still very advanced. And then you can see the enterprise architect's responsibility. First of all, how do we use AI with this architecture? And we have the knowledge scopes, the prompts, the presentation definitions for the PowerPoint, ontologies and things like that. The architect, the chief architect, will need to set up the configuration of the AI and the agents that is used in QualiWare and configure it to the most optimal usage in their business. Another thing is, how do we investigate or control that the content is accepted or relevant, or how do we get the feedback from the organization if they're not just putting a change request in? Well, then there are surveys. And actually, there is a specific survey related to EDGI. It's called the Enterprise Scan. And so this is a survey that has been created here. I can go my response. So I want to answer this survey. And it says here now, Kuno Brodersen, 0 out of 19. Here are the questions in this survey that I need to respond to. Now, before I do this, let me just show you the governance workflow for the survey. So first, the survey manager will prepare the survey and design the look and feel. Preparing has to do with setting the right questions, so creating what is known as a questionnaire with either predefined responses that you can choose from, or just edit lines or whatever. Design it so that it looks nice in the spreadsheet. And then, if he or she doesn't know what he's doing, he can actually test it before he puts it into production, something that we have talked about doing for the approval. That was a joke. Don't worry about it. And then you put it into active mode, which basically means now people will answer. Now the survey is an object. All the answers will be kept in that one object. If you delete that object, all the answers are gone. And only the owner of the object will have access to the responses. So we have made some protection in there. We can analyze it, report it, and then it's gone. So what I can do now is basically I can start, and these things it could be drop-down fields, choice fields and things like that. And then I can submit my answer, and then I'm done with my survey. So you can send out, when you design your survey, you can say, give me a list of all the people who need to receive this. And then you get a link to the survey and you just respond. So that's how it works. Right. And so the AI and the enterprise or the surveys are really what we've done in 10.10 is we put them into the enterprise architecture desktops. So when you have an enterprise architecture framework, the person who owns this will also be responsible for designing, because he or she is designing the methodologies and the way of modeling, will also be designing the use of AI and the use of surveys, amongst other things. We also included now in the enterprise architecture desktops, if we go to Archimate, for example. We also include compliance. Compliance in architecture becomes more and more important now. There is, I don't think, anywhere in the world where they're not considering the infrastructure, the data, and is it safe, and all these things. So there is a series of architecture principles that comes with the product. So application principles: maintain comprehensive application documentation, blah, blah, blah. Ensure applications are easy to maintain, blah, blah, blah. Then there are business principles, data principles, resilience principles, probably the most important ones right now, security principles, technology principles. So when you're designing a model, a process model or data model or an application landscape, you should, just like the quality managers and the quality owners are linking to ISO standards in the compliance with relation, as an architect, you should link to architecture principles. And when you do that, you'll also be able to, as an enterprise architect owner, be able to see, so what are the compliance level with my principles in my enterprise architecture. In other words, we have used, and you can see here the Gypsy beacon complies with application documentation, PLM configured online, complies with the performance principle. There is a new responsibility for enterprise architects that they haven't sort of had before. At least it's not been so obvious that is needed. And that is, again, the compliance and the AI and the survey. Yeah?
We got 2 more questions.
Okay.
So there was one regarding the survey.
Yeah.
Can people have a free-form text field in a survey?
Yes. Yes.
Cool. And can the survey results be consolidated, completed by multiple individuals?
Of course, these are, you can as an individual, you can complete just one, unless you get it back again, of course. But the survey will typically, this designer will include a list of persons in the repository for that survey, and when he or she activates it, there will be a link going out to the survey to all these people. Then they will report back their response. And like I said before, to consolidate, well, it's done automatically because all the responses are saved in that one survey object. And so all the data is in there, and we provide reports to get the data out in sort of simple forms.
Yeah, I just send a link to the survey on CUE where you can see how also you can, as a survey owner, you can see the different language or responses of the different individuals for each of the questions. So yeah, it's.
Cool. We also have a question about the chatbot.
Yeah.
Is it using ChatGPT or Copilot or either of them?
Yeah, so I can answer that one. So in a nutshell, we're kind of leveraging a ChatGPT model. Having said that, it is possible to use any other user-based LLM model with our solution, and the team app that Kuno has just presented, it's also going to work as a Copilot app as well. But the underlying model that we are using as of now is a GPT-based model.
Some of the other desktops that we've included here, not because we need to see all of them, but document management, for example, has become more and more important. So we've created a specific document management desktop where you can see your documents, and it's a little bit more interactive. I want to see what is in development, documents that are ready for approval, and things like that. Attention required. Contract management, it's the same thing. So contracts, you have contracts for processes, contracts for IT, contracts for assets, contract and organization. There may be risks, and you can say, I want to establish a risk overview for all these things. Again, attention required. This contract is terminating pretty soon now, and the termination notice has been received. And again here, different types of features that has to do with the contracts that you're running. The sustainability and the DORA, the cybersecurity legislation in EU has a very strong focus on supply chain of emissions, basically. When you procure content or products that you build a new product from, then you overtake some of the emissions that your supplier actually had. And the same with the supply chain for financial services. Typically, outsourcing of financial services is also something that is quite important. So the whole supply chain is important. Another thing that we didn't really talk about here is that you can see there are two fields or tiles down here. There's a hierarchy, all the different hierarchies that you may have. In this case, it's contracts. But if you go to the process, it's a process hierarchy. So there's a structure. You don't have to navigate 5 levels down through dashboards. You can just go do it here or in the repository explorer, of course. So that's one thing. The other thing is the ability to provide news feeds to your colleagues. If you're a process owner and you want to tell your colleagues, process owners, that we're actually changing the risk analysis process now, and please be aware of this and include it in your future changes of processes. Then you basically just submit a news item to the process news feed, and when does it arrive there, or is it sort of set up? Is there a setup date and a takedown date for this news? And if you're an application owner, there's an application news, and if you're a project owner, there is a project news. So basically, we sort of suggest to content owners that they communicate with each other in a more sort of organized way. Yeah.
We have two more questions.
Two questions,
here.
okay.
One about survey again.
Yeah.
Is it possible to anonymize the response?
No, it's not. We want to know who it is, but it's possible to not read it. I mean, there's just one person who has that knowledge, nobody else. You can, of course, sign a contract so that this person will never read this content. There's nothing that sort of requires the name of the respondent to be known, not the statistics, nothing there. So you can just leave it alone. But we do want to know who has responded, so people do not respond multiple times. Yeah. So basically, is it just as secret as you could say other types of surveys are? Well, there is an access control, of course, to the survey. So yeah, it's just as secret as the other objects we have. And the only thing with this is that there's a lot of respondents, but they don't have a chance of knowing each other's responses. Only the owner of the survey will be able to, if he or she insists on that, to see who actually responded this way, or also who did not respond. Because there are also surveys that are not just sort of, it's not a political, you wouldn't use this as a political survey, right, where you need to be anonymized somehow. Sometimes you will send it out to a group of people that are important. It's important to get their answers, and if they don't answer, you have to notify them and say, please answer again, or answer first time. So we need to be able to know who responded and what did they actually answer. So it's not totally secret, but only one person knows.
And then there's a question about the QualiWare Go app. Is it available for download in regions other than Europe?
Yes, it's available in the whole world right now. Go for the Android.
I think that must be enough. I think that's okay. Enough for now. Mars? No, nothing Mars.
Not yet. Okay.
Yeah. Excellent.
Well, I guess that's all we had prepared for today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or is there
any more questions?
There's one here. Is the AI chatbot model set in repository administrator under the repos properties with the same settings as, or maybe it's easier for you to read it, settings as in COE?
Yeah, there are a bunch of the settings that we need to enable in order to get the AI chatbot up and running, and they are included in all our documentation in COE.
Yes.
One thing I can mention now that we're sort of getting close to the end here. One thing is to get data or knowledge out of the tool which somebody put in as models. But we actually also in this release included a very advanced integration feature. Now we talked about the composable business. We didn't look at the integration or interoperability desktop, but it's there. And what we've developed is a feature that can scan a format called OpenAPI. Most modern systems support OpenAPI. So it can scan the OpenAPI, and you can map content from that target OpenAPI into QualiWare. So if you want to create your own interface with ServiceNow, for example, you can scan the open API, you will see the structures in ServiceNow, and then you can draw lines to say, in ServiceNow it's called this, and QualiWare is called this, and then it will automatically generate the code that will make sure that this interface, and it's what we call a REST interface, so it's based on services. So it generates a RESTful integration platform between two systems. Now, with digital twin becoming more and more popular, getting data from other systems, and we also heard that we have a new Power BI integration here, but getting data out of other systems and into QualiWare may be quite important because it has a sort of a dimension on the way that the processes work or other things work. Also, that data can be pushed into the AI together with the current modeling data. So not just the way that you model and describe your business, but also the way that your business is functioning by utilizing the Open API integration platform with the AI chatbot service and enriching, as it's called, enriching the model content with data content when we move that into the AI service.
Fantastic. I think that's it's 4 o'clock now, so I think that's all we have prepared for today, isn't it? Don't miss our webinar next week, same time on Tuesday. Tomorrow you will get a recording of this session, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. And is there any more? Yeah, check out the release notes on COE and exactly. Yeah. Have a great rest of the day, all of you, and thank you for joining us.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.